It was a weird game.
Weird game.
Cowboys, Steelers. There's, just a sloppiness element to the entire game. And not because, the field was in bad shape. It wasn't like a slip and slide out there. It was more so just there were turnovers. There were a lot of missed opportunities in that game. But listen, first of all, give the Cowboys credit here. Granted, they're 0-2 in Dallas, but they're 3-0 on the road, which is not easy to do in the NFL. That's a good Steelers team. They had the longer breaks. They were coming off the Thursday night game. They had extra preparation time. But to go in there against a good defense and make the plays when they had to, Jalen Tolbert, who was banged up and coming back and making that fourth down catch, and Dak for throwing the ball to Jalen Tolbert, who we've waited 3 years for Jalen Tolbert to step up and show that he could be a valuable piece of the offense. Well, Brandon Cook's out this week. You need Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, to step up and make a play, and he does it. Yes, Dak was not perfect in that game, but Dak made the big throws when you needed him to make the big throws. I mean, think about just even the sequence before the winning touchdown. You're handing the ball off to your fullback, you're faking it to the fullback and handing it off to Rico Dowdle, who gets stripped by a guy going full Superman over the line.
Troy Polamalu style is what that was.
That was a Polamalu-esque move.
That was that guy who jumped over the judge in Vegas remember he got sentenced.
That clip, man, every time that pops up in the Instagram, the algorithm.
That's what that was.
Which I'm sure is because it perpetually gives me hockey fights, baseball fights, and then eventually I get to the guy sprinting and diving over to grab the judge.
Yeah.
And then
not condoning that, I'm just saying though.
That's what it looked like though. It's a perfect play, but you have all these weird things that happen in the course of that game, but they get the ball back and they get a win. I know, and watching the post-game scene in the locker room, and Dak Prescott, who said, by the way, that he went on a tour of Mike McCarthy's old stomping grounds the day before the game.
Oh, what does that mean?
Because Mike grew up in Pittsburgh.
He's from there.
And so Mike's dad ran a bar.
Did he go to the
Pittsburgh.
toll booth or something?
They went to different places and saw, he went to his parents' house.
That's pretty dope, man.
Which is, it shows a lot about the relationship here. And Mike McCarthy tends to be this pincushion for everything that goes wrong with the Cowboys. But those two guys have a special relationship. And Dak, going back to last season when Mike McCarthy took over play calling, has performed at the best level of his career. And so to come in to keep swinging in a game like that and to make those plays, I think says something about just, the Cowboys' ability to hold up in the biggest moments. Here's a little bit of Dak when he was talking about that win over the Steelers last night.
Yeah, it was huge. Obviously, it's a guy. Y'all know how I feel about him, love him. Great head coach. Is very, very proud to be from Pittsburgh, Greenfield at that. And you hear it anytime anything comes up with references from this place. So that's why I had to go on a little tour last night, see some of the stomping grounds that he's talked about to paint that picture in my head, which was really special. Got to stop by his parents' house, spend some time with him and them. And then, it was just important for us to come out and obviously get this win, another one on the road, go 3-2. It meant a lot just to be able to deliver him a game ball, not knowing that was his first. I just kept saying, let's make it one to remember. And I think we did that. And all the ups, the downs, the ebbs and flows, a lot of things that Mike preaches on, 2 minute, and for us to just stay resilient, win the game in 2 minutes here in his hometown. He deserves it.
Who does that? Who's ever heard of going on a tour with the quarterback the day before the game? But that's Mike McCarthy. He finds the right buttons to push in situations like that. Everyone on that team acutely aware that this game was going to mean a lot to Mike. They didn't play perfect. Again, there were missed opportunities through the course of that game. They got a field goal blocked.
Yep.
There were a lot of strange moments in that game, but you find a way to go into Pittsburgh, get another win on the road, and in a wide open NFC, a wide open NFL right now, there the Cowboys sit. They're 3-2. They've won a division game on the road over the Giants. They've won 3 road games so far. You got to find a way to translate that when you head back home. Next week, they got the Lions in Dallas. The magnitude of that game is pretty big. And obviously, these are teams that have gone against each other in the playoffs, in big moments. They got the bye after that. Look at coming out of the bye for the Cowboys at San Francisco. We'll talk more about the 49ers a little later, because that was that looked like a shell of the 49ers yesterday, other than Brock Purdy, who continues to do everything possible. They finally got Ayuk going. They got Kittle going. Debo was a phantom in that game. The defense has not been dominant. Cardinals kept making plays on, but that's still the two-time or the multi-time NFC champions, a team that's always there at the end. Then you got Atlanta after that, a Falcons team that seems to be everything's headed the right direction. You got Philly at home. That's another massive game in the division, even though the Eagles haven't exactly been lights out. Then you host the Texans. I mean, that four-game stretch, throw Washington in there with the way Jaden Daniels is playing too. That's a big stretch coming off the bye. You beat the Lions. You finally get a win at home. You go to 4-2. You're feeling pretty good. As bad as that Saints game was, as disappointing as the Ravens game was, if you're the Cowboys or you're a Cowboys fan over there, TJ, you feel pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. You get this win. You beat the Lions. You go to 4-2.
How could you not?
Yeah, I think yesterday, last night was kind of a early pivot point for the Cowboys. Like, you lose that game, it's 2-3. Now you're 2 games back of Washington, who suddenly they look amazing. Granted, they're kind of the who have they beaten team so far of 2024.
Sure.
But Jaden Daniels looks like clearly offensive rookie of the year, but he's in the mix for MVP and all this. You fall that far behind now, you're reeling a little bit. Detroit comes in off of the bye, and maybe they take you to the woodshed a little bit. Suddenly you're 2-4. Now every show is leading with Mike McCarthy hot seat. Belichick's going to come in and save the day mid-season. Why did you pay Dak all this money? Like, it really could go south fast. You take care of that game last night. Great comeback win.
Yep.
Great win of Dak's career, really. I made the argument with Rich on the Overaction Monday podcast, which is available everywhere right now where you get your podcast.
I almost walked through it this morning. Didn't realize a podcast was being recorded before the show. I was 2 steps away from just walking directly through the camera shot.
It would have been great. You're wearing a great jacket.
You got black lights going. All the lights are out. I didn't know where the hell I was.
Mood lighting. Yeah. But I weirdly think this kept things on the straight and narrow for Dallas. Now they're feeling themselves a little bit with Detroit coming in. Maybe they knock them around a bit. Suddenly you're 4-2. Maybe Washington slips up, and like you said, huge stretch coming up the next 4 games with the bye week. I think this was a huge win last night. Can't be understated enough.
You still got, you got to figure out your running game because that's been up and down. And again, a big fumble last night that thankfully Dak sees it and dives on it. Yeah. It was an instantaneous reaction there. Maybe this is the week Dalvin Cook comes up. Maybe this is the week you shake things up a little bit in that backfield.
Tom, I want to interrupt, but we can't overlook the significance of Dak recovering that fumble. For years, people have gotten on Cam Newton about him not diving on the ball in the Super Bowl. Obviously, much bigger circumstance, much bigger things at stake at that game. But for Dak to be aware enough and to go and grab that ball.
That looked like a guy who's getting paid $60 million a year to put his body on the line,
yeah,
TJ.
Man,
that looked like a guy who knows,
it.
I'm financially secure. I'm going to get this fumble.
And also,
he's a competitor, too.
What else? The records. We talked about the length of time and the length of day. Dak becoming the first player to ever throw a touchdown and a pick in 2 consecutive days of the same game. Like, that's never happened before, and all this stuff.
Let's pray it doesn't again.
Yeah, well,
I could go without the 1 a.m. finish.
All this stuff going on after midnight, it's like all these songs after midnight. We're gonna let it all hang out. They were like the Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. Mm-hmm. The Midnight Express, the Midnight Rockers. It was late night and it was great, man. I don't know. I had fun with it. I know you had to get up a little bit earlier, but and for me too, Chris. No one who really knows except for the kids I grew up with in Altoona and Pittsburgh. For me, a Cowboys-Steelers game is really, really, really special. And it was just like, I was glad we were able to get the win yesterday.
What was the stat? Was that their first primetime matchup against each other?
Since
20-something years?
Or something like that. It's been a while, yeah.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern for free.